All right, guys, we're here again to start our podcast down the rabbit hole. Today's rabbit hole is going to be Collin, Daniel, and myself, Cody. And we were in the pre-show. We were talking about some pretty heavy stuff, and we're going to lead off today with Daniel Klein, my third cousin once removed, or whatever it is. So, anyways, go for it, there, dude. What are we going for?
Yes, sir. So we're going to be talking about what is God. There's been many conceptions of what God is, and especially recently, there's kind of a resurgence of people moving more towards religious structure, kind of escaping from secular humanism and moving more into a religious system. And we see that with many people flocking towards traditional Christianity as well as Islam, a lot of the traditional religions. And so I think it's quite pertinent for us to ask this question: what is God, and what are people being drawn to? Is this something like people, it's going to be ending up in sort of a religious revival, or is it more of a spiritual revival, where it's more less of a system, less of a structure, such as the traditional churches and the mosques and the synagogues and so on? Is this going to be some sort of revival and an understanding of God that we've never seen before? So I would like to go over concepts of God and what we see God to be. So the
Okay.
first question I want to ask you guys: what do you guys think God is? What is your conception of God? You start, Cody.
We'll do it with Daniel first. I gotta. What Daniel's more theological than I am.
Okay. Okay, so my conception of God is the transcendent foundation to reality itself. That's just bare bones, my bare bones definition of what God is. Now, I do have a worldview that's tied to that. I think the Christian worldview does explain things the best in accordance with God and a foundation to our existence and reality itself. But that's how I see God to be, is just the foundation, the necessary foundation to our lived experience, something beyond it, something beyond the physical, something beyond the corporeal reality we physically touch here from our day-to-day experience.
Okay. Colin, what do you think?
I think not that this is exactly God, but this is basically what they have, based on what they tell us and what they see, that the known universe somewhat looks like. I don't think this is complete by any stretch. I don't think it's geometrically correct. I think that's what they see from their perspective point. However, it's a useful tool to look at this and to see it's not just the nodes and the like the lines of connectivity that are going on. It looks like a planet almost, right? It looks like you could say it's a mind or a brain or a connectivity of energy, and that's the material that we can perceive. Now, there's gaps all throughout this that also make up the entity that we know as the universe, and even then, I don't think that incorporates what we know God to be. But certainly, this resides within what we know God to be, is the universe as a whole. And and also, like,
So wait,
when
what was that?
that was a picture of the known universe.
In what spectrum?
It's multiple light spectrums, multiple radio spectrums that they're seeing.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, I was just like, wow, that's I've never seen that.
Yeah, it's very, and do you know what's interesting about that is, yes, it is just what we've observed the universe to be, because the universe came from a point of infinite density and then it slowly expanded. That's what we understand scientifically what
which I
happened.
think that's true at all, but I would say that is the current story that they've been operating under.
Hmm.
Either way, it comes from a singular source. Even the
Yes.
materialist scientists have to admit that. Now, I don't think their
Yes.
theory is correct and exactly how it happened. We could get into those reasons later, but it's the idea of the one Unitarian notion of universality, and that boils into God. And then also that's where we can, like, science is trying to well, supposedly it's trying to uncover truth,
Yes.
Anyone that's been studying science, even like surface deep, knows politics and secular religions and ideologies play into what we call science today, and there really is no room for true, authentic expansionism or curiosity of what actually is happening, because they've hit a wall with their materialist structure. The world is not made of billiard balls. That's kind of what the current scientific model operates as. Things are bleeding in from higher places, places we can't see. So if you can't smell, hear, see, five senses, then it doesn't exist as far as the modern scientific model is concerned. But they have to admit at this point that there's higher spectrums of our sensibilities that are there. I mean, anyone that studied radio wavelengths, energy, understands that that is absolutely a reality. So we're having this anyway. I don't want to get too further much deep into that,
No,
but
that's
I would
fine.
also say God is truth incarnate. It is reality incarnate, and it is also, it's the thing that holds it all together and from which all things come at the same time. Chaos and order, or not chaos, potentiality is maybe a better way of thinking about it.
Yes.
So because chaos is negatively connotated in our language. I
Mm-hmm.
don't look at it as negative. It's a positive, but
Yeah.
it's neither positive nor negative. It is. Okay, so that's a nutshell
Yeah.
of what I would say.
Wow.
If I may interject real quick, just to piggyback off that, just so we can move back a little bit so the viewers can understand a little better.
So, well, hold on. I hate to be like this. I don't understand what any of that stuff you said was.
Yeah, yeah. So
I'm
let me
like,
move back
I'm
real
like,
quick. That
I'm way lost here. I'm like,
no, that's a higher level view of it.
yeah, that's like
So
way theological. It's like, wow. Okay.
well, it describing what is in reality, but it's definitely a higher ordered way of thinking about it. So let's just move back a little bit. So there's many different traditional conceptions of God. So there's the traditional classical theistic worldview where there is a transcendent, uncaused first cause, which is what Aristotle coined back in ancient Greek times. He called it the uncaused first cause, which is what gave rise to the contingent or the physical or the material world. So that would be the traditional classical worldview that many people think God is. It's something that is eternal, something that is immaterial, something that is all powerful, something that gives rise to everything. And what Collin was talking about with the idea of potentiality. Potential is something that can come into existence. It's ready to come into fruition. And if God is the uncaused first cause, he has unlimited potentiality. That's why we call God omnipotent in the traditional classical worldview.
Hmm.
There's many other views that we can go down on, but there's something a little bit to chew on there, okay?
I've
Real
never looked
quick,
at God at anything like
no, very few people do.
that.
It's something I've recently been. You study it long enough, these things start rising to the surface. But you could also say potentiality is the feminine aspect of God. And we have a hard time with the feminine being approached with God the Father, because we always think of God in the masculine sense. And the New Agers and people like that have ruined femininity completely. They've just destroyed the life bringer force. That's something they just have manipulated and destroyed for self-aggrandizement. So it's ruined. It leaves a bad taste in our mouth when we think of the feminine nature of God. The Catholic Church denies that exists completely.
I've always thought of God as a three-strand, like a three-strand rope.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. And to me, that's the heavenly family. The Holy Spirit is the mother. God the Father is the dad, and then you got your child, which is Jesus.
I'd agree with that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I've always thought of God since he's the father figure in your life, he's the omnipresence in the back of your thought that's supposed to help you guide through life. I've never thought of him in that big blown up thing. I've always thought that when I've denied God in my past, my path is rough. When I've had God in my life, been studying the Bible, been going to church, you have a better sense of morality and things seem to go a lot better. So I've never thought of it like that whole blown up thing. I was like, what the? Okay, that's way beyond.
It is. And the thing is, we're Colin and I, we're just coming at this from a philosophical starting point. So what you're coming at is a way most people come at God with, is they start from a religious worldview and they reverse, and some people may reverse engineer that work all the way back to a philosophical starting point. But when you have the Christian worldview, which is what you're talking about, that kind of creates a coherent model of everything. It doesn't just talk about God, but it also explains reality, existence, purpose, consciousness, the reason why we're here, and our reason for living, why God lets us live and do things, free will. So
Yeah.
that's from your perspective, right?
Well, that's what I've often. That's how I usually think of it. Now, there's an omnipresence in your back of your in your life, and maybe it's guardian angels. I don't know. It's been. I don't know. I've never gotten.
And let me add on to what you were talking about with the Trinity, because I think there are flaws with the philosophical construction of the Trinity, but the Trinity really does create a lot of clarity with conceiving of a all-loving God, if that makes sense. So when you have the God the Father, which is the author, the foundation of the nature of God, and then you have his son, the Word, the Logos, who is born into the universe. And the Greeks traditionally saw the Logos as the reason for our ability to be able to just understand and to investigate the world and to communicate. That's actually where we get the English word dialogue from. When we can dialogue with each other, it's duologos. We are engaging in the logos, which is Jesus, the Son, Christ. Were you going to jump in real quick, Colin?
Well, real quick, just to that, you keep going. It brings both streams of the order, wisdom. Well, they're both wisdom in a sense, but
Yes.
the order, the rule set, with the potentiality, the life force, and then you bring it together into the Christ, and that's something we can all do. But that's like there's been a schizophrenic psychological split and a physical split, men and women, and a part of the problem set, or it's not a problem. It's a part of our job to I mean, this it's a loaded term, but evolve past to reintegrate and forgive our mother and father, our divine spiritual mother and father, the idea of mother and father that resides within all of us because we all come from a mother and a father. And that etches onto our psyche as we move out into the world. So if you bring peace together into that, why do you think the devil's been trying to break up the family unit? It doesn't want us to figure this out. Because once we figure this out, we're off to the races.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, we use the masculine to describe God with. We call him, he, father, because he does embody a masculine role in giving birth to the universe and to adopting us as his children. But that's also a feminine role because giving
Giving
birth.
birth. Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, I
So the
love Genesis in the beginning, and
yes.
God walked over the face of the deep. What's the deep, folks?
Well, the
It's.
the
Go
deep
ahead.
is the chaos, is the potentiality. And Jordan Peterson actually talks about this a lot. If you have you ever looked into the Genesis lectures of Jordan Peterson, Cody?
No.
Okay, well, the this is kind of getting into the weeds a little bit, but the way the ancient Israelites, the people who would have been able to aggregate these ancient texts that we see in the Bible, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, the Torah, these people had a cosmology in mind, an idea that God who is without gender. He's unsegregated in his gender. He doesn't have a gender. He's a gender, but he also has, as I'm speaking right now, a masculine and a feminine. The feminine is seen in the Spirit of God. That's why we see in Genesis 1, I think verse 2 exactly, it says, the Spirit of God hovered over the waters in the face of the deep. And that is the formlessness and the void that was the universe before it was fashioned and established and given function by the Creator. And so the feminine aspect shows it's the unpotentialized or unrealized aspect, but then the masculine shows the establishment of the function of the universe.
They both need each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like to
Yeah.
bring forward the child, the Christ, the son,
Yes.
the daughter, the moving forward. You need both. It's obvious once you see it that way. I will say one caveat. The reason we look at the universe this way is because that's how all humans are. That's, you look around, that's what it is. And that goes to this notion of as above, so below. You know, we can extrapolate based on our common lived experience, the cosmos, based on what we observe here. I will also add another caveat that maybe our vision is limited in that respect because we're babies, I would say, in a chrysalis forming, and there's maybe more to this that we can't perceive yet because we're not at that point. Right now we're dealing with masculine and a duality split of, I mean, our hemisphere of our brain is split. The human body is a bifurcated system. That the Orthodox, when they have the image of Christ in the icon of Jesus Christ, his face has the split. It's a different face on both sides. They're trying to get at this idea and kind of coax it like hints. It's like little leaflets they're dropping to get people to figure it out. I'm not saying the Orthodox all have this figured out. I'm just saying they're really old and they've been thinking about this for a very long time. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. I know this is definitely getting into the weeds, Cody. So just please give us a little pushback and ask us questions as we move forward. But to just give this a little more clarity, I'm a Christian. I profess as a Christian, and so that kind of gives, and Collin does as well. But the thing about Christianity, there's so many different ways to interpret things and understand things. That's why we got the Eastern Orthodox, the Western Church, the Roman Catholic Church, and many different schools. And so I think the best way to understand it, go straight to the Gospel of John, chapter 1. And that kind of gives you an underpinning and an understanding.
What was it now?
Gospel of John, chapter 1. If you want to turn there. So it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with the God, and the Word was God. The important thing in understanding those few words is that
First John?
Gospel of John. So it's Matthew, Mark, Luke, John in the New Testament. Chapter 1, verse 1. So this
Can I show the image of this real quick?
Yeah, please.
Go for it.
Yep, that's the oldest depiction that we have of an icon of Jesus, I believe, in the 2nd century.
And what's very interesting, if you look at your photos, like personal photos, you notice that there actually is a bifurcation in the human face. Like there's one side of your face looks different than the other side. So it's very it's like a hint built into our own bodies that we can see it for ourselves.
Yeah, so and then continuing on what I was saying is the Word was with God, the Word was God. It's showing that Christ, if you continue down in John chapter 1, the Gospel of John, in verse 14 it says, the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. Early Christians, they saw Christ as the embodiment of God incarnate and as the embodiment of the Logos, which is the Greek perspective, which is the intelligibility, our ability to understand each other, to investigate, to dialogue. And so Christ, Jesus, the historical figure, is the meeting of the transcendent creator with the intelligibility as well as being born into humanity. And so that's profound. That is so profound.
There's something you just sparked that I just saw a picture of when you said all this. I don't think I've ever said it this way before, so I'm on a limb here, but it's almost like to enter into the material world, to bring the divine into the material world. It's for whatever reason. I don't understand why, but it had to come in through two pathways. And the Christ as an idea is the meeting point. It's the intersection. It's where it's us actually. That's why the Christian tradition is insistent that Christ lives within you. It's not and people get hung up on the man, Yeshua, Jesus Christ, and it's not that you shouldn't look at him, but it's not. It's deeper than just looking at the man. It's the pattern. It's the impulse. It's the Christ, the intersection of the divine, the masculine, the feminine, the divine forces are channeling, have the potential to channel through us. And the interesting thing is, we get to decide if it does or not. Crazy.
Yeah. And that's goes into the Christian perspective. The Christian worldview is, are you allowing the Spirit of Christ to embody you? That's why Paul says, it is not I, but it is Christ that liveth within me.
You literally, this is the next step of the craziness here. If everything comes from the Creator, how is it that we get to choose to channel it? How is that even possible?
Well, that's
that we can even talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul said, it's not I, the individuating force that we all have.
The self,
we call it the ego sometimes. I don't like using the ego, but that's what people know it as, because ego is, it's negatively connotated, and I like the word the I, the individuating force, the ability for me to say, I exist, I am here, I am that I am.
Yes.
And that we get to choose to partition, to go, to align with the divine truth as it bleeds in.
Yes.
Or with all these distortions.
Yes.
You can choose whatever, pick your own adventure story on this one. Mm-hmm. And there's consequences for it.
Yeah, and let me continue off that. Are you following Cody on this? Are you following?
No, you guys are so far off in the ways I stopped paying attention because it's
okay. Well,
you guys have gone off on such a. See, this is the saying. When people get up on the pulpit and start going off on the crap you guys are doing, I just lose total interest in it. And I just want to look at my phone because think we've hit. It's so theological that you lose me. Your guys are on such a different level.
That's okay. I actually have an easier way to digest this.
And I'm not saying that I like the easy way, but it's just boring.
No, it's hard to understand, and it is hard to get invested in this sort of thing. Because that's
not to be crude, but
it's not, because there's a reason why humans have not written textbooks throughout of human history until the Enlightenment and its Renaissance. We have written stories. That's how we understand these concepts.
Well, I understand, but the problem I've always had in a lot of churches, especially Adventist churches, life is not as complicated as you guys are making it sound. And so, to me, when you run through life, God makes things simple. And when you go off into this theological and blow it up and get bigger and bigger, it's just like, to me, that's not the way the world works. So
there's wisdom in what you're saying. There's wisdom in what you're saying, by the way, because humans aren't supposed to. I mean, there's a place in time for us to begin going down these roads. most people are worried about their everyday lives with how we got to raise kids. The world's
Yes.
insane. I don't know what to do. Like, I mean, this is crazy. Like, who do I trust? What do I not trust? How do I build a future for myself in the material world? That's mostly what people are worried about. And then any sense of having a structure to give you, okay, this is who you are. Simply put, you're a child of God. Or a church tells you that, and it's like we're supposed to love our neighbor and love God as best we can and go forward from there. That's a great message, and that should
Yes.
be spread to the end, and it has been spread to the
Well,
ends of the earth.
and there, I'm not saying that there isn't room for the deeper theological thinking, but it's just everything in life that I've ever come across is never that complicated. You leave it to the human mind that almost seems like it's bored, that goes down that path of like I got to fill in all the blanks. And even when I work on cars, you have to break it down to the simplest thing. And then when you're building a house, everyone looks back at the whole entire big thing. God tells me just break it down to the simplest part, and don't worry about the whole. You break it down. And it's like people stand back and worry about how they're going to get to a place. Well, that's 1 mile at a time. Everything. I always simplify everything.
Yes.
Is how I
It
just deal with everything, and it just makes it so much easier than. Now, I'm not saying I haven't gone philosophical and gone off on some pretty deep thoughts, but I've always come back to try to.
you're right.
You talk
By the
about
way, you're correct.
you
Like, I
talk about
agree with you.
Glenn, Glenn Egan, our Uncle Glenn. He told me that you read his book. There are people,
I've skimmed it. I'm not going to read that whole thing because
there are,
I have to learn I have to literally learn like microwave engineering to
oh
understand
yeah,
what he's talking about in terms of his equations.
but
But I've read his. Go ahead. Sorry.
he told me, and he's one of the most intelligent men I've ever met.
Yeah.
And give a little context to who Uncle Glenn is.
Uncle Glenn was part of one of the. Collin knows more about how to explain Glenn.
I mean, you've talked to him way more as closer to an adult than I did. I knew him as a child, but I would say, all right, Uncle Glenn was in terms of his bona fides, he was a microwave engineer. He some of his stuff, his research ended up on the space shuttle, supposedly. Like, I don't know exactly what the truth of that or whatever. I will say he was he was given many awards. He was one of their top guys. He was a part of the geophysical year. That was a major global program that was set mostly in the Arctic and Antarctica, that basically was syncing up metric systems around the world so the entire planet was synced up on a materialist clock. And it was a very big event, and no one knows about it. So he
Yeah.
was a part of a deep, deep operation. And he's been exposed to, and the very fact that he understands how energy works better than the layman does, the normie, he knew something was up with
He
like
worked
the
at
current
Los Alamos
scientific
too,
model.
right?
He worked at Los Alamos. He did, yeah. No, he's been involved. Like, I've got a new cache of documents coming my way that someone unearthed. There's a couple boxes of files of his work that I have not seen yet. I'm excited about that, and I'll see what those say. But he was definitely involved in deep dark, like when I say dark, I mean non-visible projects, like things that no one will ever know about specifically.
Project Blue and all that other stuff. Yeah.
So what did he tell you, Cody?
I have two.
You tell the story. I'll be right back. Go ahead. Sorry.
I cross-referenced two different men, and they were both very high IQ. And the summary of it is so I have my friend Jerry Bauer, and then I have my uncle Glenn. And Glenn was very famous saying, it takes a really intelligent mind to take really complex thoughts and break it down to the simplest notion.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jerry Bauer, the guy I used to work with, he says, be afraid of the man who can't take a complexity and break it down to a simple concept.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
so it's just so every time I hear these big theological stuff, my mind just goes, "Oh God." No pun intended, but it's just like,
Yeah,
oh, you're
and
making
it's
it
not
too complicated. You're just overthinking this.
the thing is it kind of requires a prior investigation and understanding in the field of philosophy and theology. And
Yeah.
you're 100% right. So that's why I want to move into, now that we've laid the groundwork, I want to start simple as I can.
Well, I'm not saying
So,
that there isn't room for complexity, but my mind
but yeah,
is like,
no, I'm gonna try to make it as easily digestible as I can, just even for the broader viewership, because I know not everybody is super in the weeds as we just got. So the conception, just turning back the wheel a little bit, the conception of God. How do you see God, Cody? You said you see God as a force that guides you in your life. And when you make decisions, he leads you in a certain direction. He kind of has a providence in your life. Does that represent it well?
yeah, well, I would say that's pretty close, but I would say, yeah, he's a omnipresence. It's just like you're walking through life, and sometimes you feel a nudge, or you get inspired, or you go a certain way. And then I've always thought that when you feel that, to deny it is denying that God's trying to work through stuff with you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So that kind of gives pushes you in the direction to understand what God is then. Because that's you most people call that their consciousness, right?
Yeah,
When
I,
you
I
go continue.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So your subconsciousness, I've always thought of as that's either a guardian angel or someone's pushing you into
Mm-hmm.
a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's a guardian angel, maybe it's God. I haven't tried to figure it out, but I've always felt really good leaving some things mystical. It's just like, oh, don't break it down too much, don't make it too complicated. Because if you, it's just, I don't know other way to do that. It's just like mystical. And when you listen to that, I've listened to it, things go really well.
It's better for a more sound mind and a better life to keep things simple. I agree
Hmm.
with you. I'm a
Yeah, but,
sick person, okay?
oh,
Like
well,
I'm
yeah,
I
well,
I
Godism.
well, there's a certain thing. Look, I mean, people don't want to ever admit they're smart. I'm able to. I'm not good naturally with a lot of things in life. Everything's come difficult to me except for this. This is the only thing I'm good at, like naturally, and that's just macro analysis and looking at everything as from as many angles as possible and being open to it and not getting my feelings hurt when someone challenges me. That's
Mm-hmm.
actually like I'm pretty good at that. And so I'm a different kind of person. Most people are not like that. So your criticism is very valid because we're trying to talk to an audience here. And what we just said is going to resonate to very few people.
well, like
And
maybe like the 1%, maybe
Yeah.
3%. Yeah, it's just like taking it all in. I'm like, wow, you guys have.
let me continue off that though. There is a time and place for what we just did. And my reasoning for it is because we need to be able to define things. When we throw words around, when we say God, the presence that guides the universe, a lot of people have a conception of what they believe that to be. And so when you just say certain words that everybody holds in common, the word God, you might be talking past people because some people may have a different conception of God. Like God is the universe. The universe is God. The Hindus believe, or you might have an Islamic perspective, or a mystical perspective. There's many different perspectives. So I'm glad we kind of defined that a little bit. But I wanted to go into a biblical story to maybe explain this a little better. So let's let's go to just the story of Moses to explain it a little bit.
Okay.
So Exodus chapter 3. Moses, he was a Hebrew, grew up in Egypt. His family at the time was worried for persecution because the story says that the Pharaoh wanted to kill every baby boy under the age of 2 because he
Yeah.
felt threatened that the Hebrews were going to take over Egypt because they were growing, multiplying. They were surmounting the population of the Egyptians. And so Moses was sent down the river where all the babies were going to be sent to be killed.
What was that?
And sorry?
Chapter 3? Chapter 3?
Yeah, the Exodus chapter 3 is the part where I want to get
That's the
to,
burning
but
bush, but it's the beginning.
I'm
It's
giving
chapter
I'm
2.
giving context here. I'm just going to
Yeah.
give context, so you can
Okay.
stick in chapter 3 for now. So I'm just giving a story here. And so his sister was able to keep him safe for a certain time, and then obviously if you believe in a providential transcendent creator, Moses just floated into the exact area where the daughter of the Pharaoh was bathing. Obviously not a coincidence. And so in her loving spirit, she sees the child, Moses, and she takes him up out of the water. She names him Moses because that is the direct translation of his name. It means to be drawn out of the water. So that's Moses' name, and he was able to be raised in by his own family. The Pharaoh's daughter allowed that to happen, and he grew up in the Egyptian royalty after the age of about 12. And so then we're getting on to when he decides to bring his anger out on an Egyptian slave driver who's beating up his fellow Hebrews that he knows are his people. And so he killed him out of anger. And so he had to flee from Egypt for 40 years. He wandered in the desert. Now you see the word 40 pop up many times in the book of Exodus. So it's not another coincidence there that Moses had to spend 40 years in the wilderness gathering himself together. But then he married the daughter of a Midianite priest. Jethro was the priest's name. And he married Zipporah. And Moses got a job for several years, those 40 years, as a shepherd. He would shepherd for his father Jethro. One day he's wandering around looking for his sheep and tending after them, and he stumbles across this bush. And for some reason, it was burning and not being consumed up. And so that's where he's drawn near to it. And he obviously has a history and an understanding of the divine and of who God is because he knows his Hebrew lineage and he also grew up in Egypt. And so he comes into contact with God and who he saw God was in the burning bush. And so in Exodus 3, fast forwarding to Exodus 3, we see the burning bush. And Moses is receptive to this presence. He reaches out to it and he is touched by it. And one interesting thing that it says is that Moses, is there something wrong with somebody's mic?
Sorry, I don't know. My feedback might be crazy. What are you hearing? Yeah, it's like constantly on. Hang on.
We're good. We're good. So Moses, he found God and then he asked him, "What's your name, God? Who are you?" Because there's many different gods that he's aware of. He grew up in Egypt, the many different gods they worship. And God says, "I want you to bring my people out of Egypt and to free them from the bondage they're in. And you will tell them my name." And he says his name is I am that I am. What does that mean? What do you think that means, Cody?
Oh, it's Popeye. Oh, never mind. Here I am, stop. The Lord said, don't come any closer, take off your sandals. And God anointed. I am what I am. What was the question?
So what do you think that means when God says my name, I am that I am? That is my name.
It's a good question. I never really thought about it.
Because that's the foundational question because it's something that when we read it, it kind of flies past us. We don't even think about it, right? But when God says, I am that I am, he is saying he is. He just is.
I am all. I am everything.
All of it,
Hmm.
the whole
He
thing, the whole kit and
exists.
caboodle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's saying he is existence itself. He is being itself.
And I one other caveat: the burning bush. It's not an accident. Like people take this too literally in the sense of they only focus like, oh, it was a burning bush, no big deal. The symbolism is fire that does not consume, potential, abiding, permanent energy that needs a host but does not consume it uncontrolled. It's perfect balance, perfection incarnate that
So it's
provides
showing,
that. And I would say it's not that it's like a circular system where it's a feedback loop. It expands with warmth. It's what's the word? It's people. It's like the prosperity gospel. It's not that, but they're right about this, that God's love provides abundance. It's like you once you master the earth, you use the earth to make more out of it than what was originally there if we're in balance. Instead of just a zero sum game where something always has to die, aka the sacrifices, to give you life or potentiality.
yeah. So
The new
that
covenant.
explains the balance that God has within the universe.
I actually don't even want to use the word balance now that I'm saying this. Like, it's expansive. It grows out of nothing. It seems like nothing, like, because in our minds, in the zero sum game, you have to spend something to get something back. Not in God's rule book with that, and that is love. That is literally what love is. It is an
Hmm.
expansionary force that brings warmth and life and seems to come out of nothing. And we all have that potential to do that. We can create
Amen.
unlimited amounts of resources, not just material, but spiritual. We can heal. We can do amazing things. There, greater things than I will you do.
Yes. What do you think about that, Cody, and what we gave there with that?
Like, it makes sense. I mean, what don't make fun of me, but because you reap what you sow, what you
Yeah.
put in is what you get out. Yeah. So
There's a way to simplify it, but also the problem is that,
God's not simple.
well, and also the devil's he likes to, like, we've been dumbed down and compartmentalized to think a very static way. But when you say, because what I heard when you said this was actually wise, because you are a distrustful person of anything coming from this earth. Would you say that is correct, Cody? In the sense of, you're like, okay, I'm gonna trust but verify kind of attitude, at least. So and there's wisdom in that, because you want to see the fruits, you want to see what's this all about. Like I'm not going to just buy into something automatically, like in just for shits and giggles. Like, excuse my language, but um, and that's wise. And you pushing back is correct, because you want to see, like, okay, what are we actually trying to say here? Simply put, what I would say, and I don't want to speak for Daniel, but love can only come from God. And love, you can tell if it exists if things blossom around it. Like
Yes.
almost like a life force that pops up out of nowhere and things magically just start happening.
Yes. Yeah. So actually, do you want to go to a verse real quick for me, Cody? Go to
that's
First John chapter 4.
why did there have to
First
be
John chapter 4.
why did there have to be so many books named John?
Yeah, there's four of them, so I'll go to it too. So First John chapter 4 gives us a little more elucidation on that, the reality of God being love. So you can read from 17, verse 17 through 19 for us, please, Cody.
Gotta find it there first, Scooter.
Do you want me to read it then?
No, hold on.
1 John 4, 17 through 19.
Yeah, they're short books. Wow. We know that our love is being perfected when we can look forward to the day of judgment and confidence and live a life of love that Christ did in the world of sin. For fear and love just don't go together. Love displaces fear because fear focuses on punishments and won't let love mature. One of the one who is afraid of God does not understand God's love. And we love God because he first loved us that were on. How far am I supposed to go?
Just through 19 there.
Oh, I went past it. Yeah,
That's
we
okay.
love.
Do you
That's
see that
perfect.
though? Do you see that in verse 19? It says we love him. I have the King James here. We
We
love
love
him.
God because he first loved us.
Yes. And that's what Collin was saying.
That's where we come from.
Can I real quick caveat? Unless
Yes.
it's not a weed. It ties into or a rabbit trail. It ties in what you're saying. John, it's like in Hebrew it's Yohan, Yohan or something, right? The Yo is in Hebrew. It's an expression for it's a short version for Yahweh or
Breath.
Yahweh. It literally me, and so Yah is the expression of God, and Yon is it basically means love or graciousness or the compassion or the warmth of God from the breath of life. So just that's it's a blessed name, John, I would say.
Yeah, and the thing is what I was trying to get out there is what you said, Colin, is because love is God's embodiment. He embodies love. And that's from the Christian perspective. Okay?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I would mostly agree with. I think it's more than that. I think you'd agree with that, but
Yeah,
it
and
certainly encompasses that.
but like you said in verse like we said in verse 19, it says we are able to love because God loves us. And that shows the interconnectedness between us and God. It
Yes.
goes all the way back to Genesis 1, right? You know that, Cody and Colin, where it says in when God created man in his image, he created us, male and female, he created them in his image. We are bearers of God's
He them.
image.
Did you say he them?
Yeah, well, that's what it says in the King James. It's just Old English,
Does
but
it really? I missed that.
yeah,
Oh my
uh,
goodness.
if
That's
you go to,
hilarious.
I think it's Genesis 1:26. It's just the Old English way of saying it, but
And don't give them more power.
Dude, that's how the devil works. He plays on things like this. That's so
yeah, it
crazy.
says
I
he
never knew
created
that.
he them.
Where's that at?
Genesis 1:26, I believe. 1:26
But
and
this was
27.
the end of his work of the first day. Next he said to his son, now let us make beings who look like us and reflect our thinking and our personality. Let's give them responsibility, rules over and cares for the fish and the birds and the animals and all which we
Yeah, that's
create.
that's going into 28, but I'm talking about 27 here. So it says, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them.
Yeah, so 27 says so they created two humans beings and male and female equal but different functions to reflect the utility of good heart.
What
That's
translation are you reading from?
the clear word.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So there's many different translations just for the viewership to understand what we're talking about, just a little differences here.
Yeah,
With
well,
English translations,
I'm
yeah, don't
dyslexic, so it has to be easy.
don't worry about it. But
Can
there's
I go
there's
ahead?
many
Sorry.
different translations. Like the clear word is more of a paraphrase. It gets the idea conveyed in more modern language, whereas there's more literal word for word translations as well.
The can I? You just sparked something again. The they. What is they? It's the sea of
Them.
potentiality. It's the
Are you talking about
essence of
them?
the feminine. It really is like they actually is the feminine essence in terms
Yeah.
of like a multiplicity of
Yes.
potentiality, right? It's not the
Yeah.
singular, which is the male archetype.
100%. And
That's
to
so
pig
cool. I never realized that.
yeah, and to piggyback off of that, so in Deuteronomy chapter 6, this is the famous Shema Israel. So it's the mantra of the Israelites. When they say, "Hear ye, hear the Lord your God, the Lord is one." Okay, that's what every single Jew says every single day of their life. Because when it says the Lord your
Say it
God
again.
is one, hear ye Israel, the Lord your God, the Lord is one. When it's referring to God as one, the word in Hebrew is echad, which is the Hebrew word for one, but echad does not mean Unitarian one. It doesn't. It actually involves a multiplicity. This is a very good argument to show that there is more complexity to God's nature than just a Unitarian view of Him, because the Hebrew language is conveying that God has a multiplicity in a unity, which is His oneness, but then that's also shown that He has multiple avenues within His nature. That's why Christians
This is where
believe in a Trinity
the
view.
infinite nature comes from.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
In a sense, but also you could say because the order by nature can't be infinite. It's
Yep.
ordered. It's
Yep.
structured. So
Yep.
basically, and let's put this in a different term. The idea that we're raised in with Christianity to think of God is literally, God the Father. He's dad. When dad comes home, he sets things in order in its right place. Mom is from which life comes from, and an
Yes.
unbridled estrogenity tends to, when it's just allowed to go off and do whatever it wants, it runs into a rampancy problem where it's like AI without limitations goes and just becomes a chaos
Yes.
fuel. And you see this in single family homes
Yes.
where children are raised by single mothers because mom is always going, they're the life bringer, they're going to get first rights to the kids, but it leads to violence, it leads to insanity within the
Yes.
child. It's like it's the problem we're all dealing with right now. You can see it.
And to further go down that is when femininity is unchecked, we see what we are seeing today in our society. Everybody knows about the OnlyFans girls that go around sleeping with thousands of guys. There's like one girl, I don't know her name, but
That's
she,
good.
yeah, she had it as her main
It's like,
goal.
You're about to do a
Listen to this.
sermon. Be careful.
Listen to this. No, but
if
hear
you
this. This
knew
is
the
insane.
name,
No,
I
no,
would
this is
be
serious. Yeah,
concerned.
yeah, yeah.
Hear,
You're
hear,
right. This
hear
is a
this
good
out.
example. You're correct.
She made it her goal to have sex with 1,000 men in one day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's feminine energy unchecked, and that's also
What's
that's
that
a
say about the
mirroring,
guys that let that happen, though?
or the guys that gave into it. Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
exactly.
Yeah.
They worship the woman. They worship, not when I say women, I'm saying they worship the spirit of unbridled potentiality without
Yes,
limitation. They have no discipline. They have no self-correction.
and
Their
why?
God is, the sea of everything from which all things come, not the
There's
narrow
no
way.
order. There's no order. And
Yeah,
so
and
when
then
you,
the other side goes and like, let's just worship the narrow way and forget about the sea of potentiality, and that's what's leading to this schizophrenic culture we live in. Go
yes,
ahead though.
yes, 100%. We are quite well acquainted now with the moral degeneracy in our culture. It's become quite commonplace. It's very commonplace for people to sleep around, for people to do ridiculously morally degenerate things. It's it shows that there is a breaking apart. The dichotomy is getting wider with people going down one path, which is what you're saying, the feminine, the energy of chaos and unbridled potential. There's no direction though. There's there's no structure. That's why we're seeing there's a whole pendulum swing in the other direction, right? When you go on X, you see people going in the opposite direction. Far extremism in the other way. We're going to go to dictatorships. We're going to go to strict structure placement political regimes in order to balance off the way things are going.
And go ahead, Cody. We kind of just threw a lot at you. What do you think?
I tend to agree with that. People are being so rigid lately, and that no one likes it at all. That's the reason there's so much regulation in California. Everyone's leaving because they don't want to be around that crap. They want to leave, get away from it. They want to be
Ah,
free.
sure.
This is what's interesting. Would you say that is more masculine or feminine rigidity in California?
Feminine.
Yes.
Very interesting. You can have
Yes.
a dictatorship with unbridled femininity because in order to make the system work in the material world, if you want everyone to have everything and everything to be possible for everybody, you have to be a tyrant
Yes.
to make that happen. So you're going to get a tyrant either extreme. It doesn't, but it's the balance. It's the middle way. Narrow
Yep.
is the way, right? Why do
Yes.
we have a left wing and a right wing? Why isn't there? Like, everyone argues this. Like, why don't we have a third party? Because it's metaphysically impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Because you go to all these other countries that have multiple parties, they just create little coalitions, and guess what? It splits into left and right, and it's more confusing, if anything.
Yes.
Well,
And that's,
but look at
sorry.
what's going on in Canada.
Yeah,
Same stuff's going on up there, and now they got two provinces. What is it? Saskatchewan
Alberta.
and Alberta are saying they got together for the first time in Canadian history. As far as I understand, I'm not an expert on Canada, and they go. They had a conference without the other provinces in their own little. I guess they had like a gathering there to talk about splitting off. I didn't even realize that Canada is a confederate, not a federal government.
Well, it's a commonwealth under the crown. And people think that the crown has no authority. There is no, I would love for someone to show me that that's actually legally the case. That effectively and politically it may be the case because the king and queen, the kings and queens that control the crown. We call it the crown because it's an entity at this point. There's many factions that have sway and influence over the crown. But the old British Empire is alive and well, and it's just under the surface, and they gave us democracy to make us feel that we control our own countries. We don't control anything.
Can I bring it back real quick a little bit, just to what we were talking about with the split in the party system, right? People want to say, "Oh, I'm an independent. Let's create a third party." Like Elon Musk, he wants to create a third party, the American Party. It
I was
doesn't
part of a
work.
third party for a long time.
Well, the I meant like by a third party, as in a
No, I
party that is in the middle. It just doesn't work. It never does. It always goes in one way. Just like,
well, well, I was part of the Libertarian Party for about 5 years.
yeah, but that's not in the
Eh,
middle, is what I'm saying. I'm
Well, yeah,
saying
but
They try that was how they sold themselves, was we're the middle
it's
way.
not though.
We're the third way, like Gurdjieff famously, the
Mussolini
third way
tried
is
to
an
do
old
that.
idea. Go ahead. Sorry.
Mussolini actually was one of Mussolini and some of the Italian philosophers back in the early 20th century tried to do that. That's what fascism was a start to. They called it the third way, a third
Everyone's
That's
position.
tried to do this. And it
Yeah,
always you end up in one camp or the other. You can't help it because once you hit your oppositional force, which is you can't pick the middle. It doesn't work
no,
because
no.
humanity has not reconciled the feminine and masculine structures within all of us, whether you're a man or a woman.
well. What's interesting. I've always wanted to say this. I've always find it so frustrating that we have a group of individuals running around this country calling don't be fascistic, and they're trying to say that's a right wing ideal.
It's not.
It's
Not.
it's always it's a left wing ideal.
It
It's always
was.
been social. It's a form of socialism,
Hmm.
and that is a
Yep.
left wing idea. And
It.
it's just
Go ahead. Sorry.
and when Antifa, anti-fascist, it's like, dude, the very presence of your whole mindset is fascistic. The way you're talking, the way you're trying to force everything, that is a fascistic principle.
Let me continue off that though. The origins of fascism. Giovanni Gentili was the philosopher who kind of laid the bedrock for it in Italy. Fascism was, like you said, it relied upon a socialist national economy. That's the
Well, it's,
definition of socialism,
yeah,
right?
you have two kinds of socialist philosophies. You have the communists who want to control the world, and you have the fascists. It's a national version of socialism. It's just a different way
Yeah.
of getting there to the same
And
point.
Hitler, that's why people conflate. Yeah, this is a fascio, is what Collin is showing. That's where the word comes from, and it's a bundle of sticks. And fascism, the etymology of it, it was originally meant for. It means a trade union. A trade union, and it was meant to be an entire political system built upon trade unions and the power of the people and
Hmm.
a national economy. Just like what you were saying, the communists were socialists, but they believed that the proletariat would rise, take control of the means of production, as Karl Marx thought. He thought that the proletariat would that the state would eventually wither away, and then it would be a perfectly egalitarian utopian society,
Real
right?
quick, the bundle of sticks, like Genghis Khan famously said, he brought his sons together and he broke an arrow in front of them, a single arrow. He broke two, and then he got a bundle of arrows and he tried to break it, and it wouldn't break. Point being, you stick together, you're unbreakable, right? So
Yes.
that's what the bundle of sticks means. So in the Rome, they were not allowed open weapons unless you're like because they wouldn't allow armies into the city until the Caesars took over and and it became an empire. But before that, you would have to the consulate or the people of authority would have a bodyguard, and they were allowed to carry this thing, and it was a symbol, but it was still could be used as a weapon. But they kind of got it was like a workaround. They can get around it by saying, no, this is a symbol of status of our authority, that we together we are one with one cutting edge that moves us
Yes.
forward. And you would like have these guys carry it over their shoulders following the guy of authority, and it was like a whole thing. So it was called the fascia. And then the fascia is also what we call the layer of connective tissue
Mm-hmm. Fascia.
between muscle. Hang on, let me just show you so you can just see it.
Between the skin and the muscle.
Hmm.
Yeah, and the idea is it's the thing that binds it all together, which is always which is what in a state the people.
It's the people. Yep.
And then it's a directionally, we also need the cutting blade that the people guide where the blade goes. The shoulder blade. Where does it go? And
Yeah.
it's old. This is we're fine. It's so cool. I love this. Sorry. Anyway, I'll leave.
Yeah. And
I'm
to
done. Go ahead.
continue off that is people try to label far right extremists as fascist, which it's just completely bastardizing the term. It doesn't make any sense. It's anything can mean anything at that point if you can say that. Uh, yeah, the idea of trade unions and the people taking control of a national economy is socialism at its core. And that's what fascists were. They just had a different philosophy to the communists and the Bolsheviks. That's
Well,
why they didn't like them.
they didn't take over the means of production. They didn't do anything. They had trade unions, and that's the reason. Like they preserved the corporations, and it was socialism by preservation of capitalism almost.
Yes, and that's what Hitler did. Hitler nationalized the corporations and the companies. That's why they call that's well, the historians will say he privatized them. So they'll call Hitler a capitalist because of that. But what Hitler did is he took all of the corporations, like the large German corporations, and he would remove the leaders of those corporations and put in a party official to control those corporations so that they will do everything in accordance with the state. So it is a privatization, but it's nationalizing everything to be controlled by the state. That's socialism. That's what
And when
Hitler
you're
did too.
and the thing, what you have to do that if you're fighting the war on the same playing field of the estrogen type that have no problem nationalizing everything and bringing everything under a common singular unit. You can't fight at that battlefield on a physical battlefield unless you get, just think about the problem. You have all these different guys having their own ideas, but you have a singular like national strategy that you need to implement. You have to nationalize everything. It's not even he didn't have a choice. You had, and I'm not defending Hitler. I'm saying the crown has a life of its own once you take it on. And if you decide to fight a certain way on their battlefield, you're going to become what you hate, supposedly hate, every time. And this is our current problem set. We don't, how that, and this is why the Chinese have been allowed to succeed in the way they are. They're totally centralized. Every student I've met and when I studied abroad was a Chinese agent. If they were tapped. I'm serious. Like,
That's crazy.
They would not talk to us. We tried to reach out and hang out with them just to get to know the Chinese a little better. Like, it was fun. Like, we were all from all over the world and we were like all hanging out, getting to know each other's idiosyncrasies. Like, what are you like? Oh, that's cool. That's fun. Then we make fun of each other. It was a great time. And the Chinese were the only group that would not talk to anybody because
so
they're watched all the time. They have handlers. You don't get to go across to abroad to another country without a strings attached.
Yeah, that's the thing that's scary about the Chinese. They just have their hands in everything. They, there is no such thing as a free ride. There's always an attachment.
Unless we're talking about God's love.
Well,
which I agree with. I know what you're saying. We're talking about politics, but I'm saying that's the only way out of this is not individuation, but taking responsibility for yourself and who you are as a human being. And then that opens your heart up to all humanity to see that, oh, we're all one. This is the coup de grace. This is how we defeat them once and for all. And it's happening, by the way, because the devil, and this is the good part about evil. I know that sounds bad, but evil forces good to rise to the surface because it has to. Because if we let these psychos keep doing this, we're all going to die and they're going to blow the planet up. There has to be another way through this, and we can't go and fight them on foreign battlefields on we line up our soldiers against their soldiers and then someone wins.
Well, kinetic warfare is so last year, I guess you would say.
Exactly. Yeah, it's 1990. It's so 1992 or whatever it was.
Well,
yeah, exactly.
It's the kinetic war that's coming up is going to be something like There is going to be a
We're in
battle.
it.
Well, but yeah, but there is going to be
Millions are dead. The
well,
preamble to this World War compared to the other two world wars, like, because world wars don't just start like that. There's so many events that lead up to the event.
yeah.
There is no conflict in human history that has a bigger body count than what we've seen in the last 10 years.
With Ukraine and Russia,
And it goes back to
I
the
cannot.
GWAT.
It is unbelievable, unmanageable to me. Like the numbers that they're throwing out of how many of Ukrainians and Russians are dying is just unfathomable. Like
It's
hundreds
Terminator
of,
Wars. It's robots, man. It's total cold-blooded
well,
algorithms killing each
the
other.
well,
Russians
It's using
don't care.
human
They'll keep
bodies.
throwing people at you. That's what they did against the Nazis. That's how they
well,
were able to overcome them.
what's funny to,
Just
or
throw them.
not funny, I say that in the bad
Yeah.
context, but what's interesting is literally they have rows of vans running around Russia, grabbing young men up off the street, shoving them into a van, and taking them in to train them on their
Really?
conscript army.
That's
I'm
crazy.
sure that happens to some degree, but based on what I've seen, they have an overflow in terms of people that are enlisting. The point is,
it
I could be,
changed? Okay.
well, like, there's tons of footage of Ukrainians doing this.
Well, I'm not talking about Ukrainians. I'm talking about Russians.
I I understand. I'm saying that, look, we were just talking about how kinetic warfare is kind of anachronistic. What's the next level above kinetic warfare?
Psychological.
It's what you can see and what you perceive to be real. If you, because what happens in, like, when armies in the Hellenistic era, or, well into the medieval, like when you have two lines line up and into the 1800s, when you got two lines lining up, who wins? The side that doesn't run. You can convince the other side to run first, you win. You kill everybody in a rout.
Well, but that's the fun part about the Civil War or the Revolution.
Right. Good. Go ahead. Yeah.
The Americans were like, "You want us to stand up and picket lines? Are you guys out of your mind?"
Yeah.
And then we broke one of the rules of war. We shot the officers. So what did the United States do? They, even to this day, they empower the enlisted to run the war. They don't lean on the officers to run combat. When you watch the English army fight, when the officer goes down, they're screwed. The United States, when the officer gets shot, everyone dies because the officer's there to to keep the enlisted under control.
You could look at Afghanistan or Iraq or the Middle East, or the GWAT, as a perfect example of that. Irregular warfare, right? Now, here's the caveat to this, because this changed pretty dramatically in the Civil War. We weren't doing, there was a lot of covert action and black ops going on in the Civil War.
Oh, yeah, I know. What is that?
It's incredible, but
I just got done reading that book about the Rangers. I forget the name. It's on my phone, but I'm using the phone right now.
We've talked about, I forgot anyway, but the problem set when you're starting to, like, and this happened in the Napoleonic Wars. Once you industrialize nations, now your target sets are different. You can kill an officer and there's a million others to take their place. That tactic doesn't work anymore. You have to go after industrial bases. And what is that? Cities. That's where all of the industry was.
That's what they were doing in the Civil War, yeah.
Exactly. You need mass numbers to line up again. Like, what are they doing in Russia and Ukraine? It's like World War I all over again. It's
trench
warfare.
Yeah.
It's like, I honestly did not see that coming, but now that I understand how what this war is really about better, I'm like, of course that's what happens.
It's a lot of propaganda behind it.
It's a lot of, and propaganda is a major part of this, but I'm saying that when it comes to the kinetic action part, you don't get to just be like our the Americans are the eagle. We're like a quick strike force. We can fly anywhere in the world and go and drop things off and take things away. Like, we're really good at moving shit and moving around the planet. But we are not the Russian bear that can slowly lumber forward and just take land over, because we're not on the Eurasian landmass. We've already conquered the continent effectively. Like, I mean, we've let it go to these other forces because we've been subverted, but I'm saying that, like, warfare manifests and has a life of its own based on conditions of the time, and the major driver right now is economics.
Yes.
And it always was, but it's even more so today. It's like economic warfare is like everything right now.
It's part of the financial kill chain.
Yes.
War is one of
Kill
the
chain,
modes.
yeah.
The financial kill chain. Do we want to go over that real quick?
Oh, we've been down the financial kill chain before.
Okay.
That
Well,
was one of
they
our
know
first
about it
things.
then. Yeah, the financial kill chain is
Yeah,
involved.
go back and watch it.
Yeah, it's the economic
Give us
process
some views
behind why wars are fought. Makes sense.
We can give a highlight. I know that Collin is just like already geared up for that. Give him a highlight.
It's very simple. Everyone knows the term mergers and acquisitions for the most part in Wall Street, that you choke off the energy supply of your competitor, and then you force them in a position to make a deal with you to stem the bleeding, and so that they don't lose their ass and they don't lose everything. It's about making it's giving them in The Godfather, it's like, I'll make an offer they can't refuse. That's really what the financialist kill chain's about. It's about creating conditions for the battlefield way ahead of time, so that when it comes down to blood and guts, that someone's going to win and someone's going to lose, but you've set the terms and conditions of surrender well in advance. You could look at the conference at Yalta. They decided back then, with Stalin, Churchill, and Roosevelt, that was like the official agreement for the Cold War. And they were going to split North and South Korea. That was already decided back then. And North would be under Soviet control, South would be, and it was like, okay, we're about to take out a major, power center, and there's going to be a vacuum effect. So it's like, okay, let's divvy up the spoils and draw our new lines for the next war. That's what really Yalta was about. It was, and this is well before World War II ended. This was like, I think 2 years or 2.5 years before it ended. And it's like, and war gamers can see downrange because, one, they have access to information we don't. Two, they know how this shit works. And it's just you're not taught this in school, how to think like this. It's just good guys, bad guys, red team, blue team. That's it,
Yeah. Us and them.
Us and them.
Well, and it's all about those financiers that are behind the scenes, like you were saying, that are trying to leverage the debt to whoever's indebted to them. And then they go into war, they're in more debt, and that's how the financial kill chain is able to.
And in the chaos, the amount of arbitrage opportunities it's like it's just a looting session. They just take everything they possibly can and consolidate it into the plunder. And it's like and people just go look up Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street, and just look at their portfolios and ask yourself the question, how the hell did this happen? How is this even possible?
Told you. He was ready. He was ready to go. Told you.
What, who? Me?
You, yeah. You just got to stick the key in the back and just twist it a little bit, and then you're off like.
I'll go, bro. You just, I'm trying to be polite. Yeah.
So, Collin, real
that
quick,
book's name was Unvanquished.
That's right, yes. Yeah.
That's a great book.
Yeah, Patrick K.
I'll have to
O'Donnell.
check it out.
Everyone should read his books. They're fantastic books.
Well, yeah, it's called Unvanquished, the untold story of Lincoln's Special Forces.
Yep.
The manhunt of Mosby's Raiders and Rangers and the shadow war that what they fought in America's Special Operations.
You
Yeah.
know, Colin, to
What's
piggyback
funny,
off,
what's funny is the Rangers, like the Rangers, the 75th Rangers, was actually started by the Confederate Army.
It comes from the Scots,
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's like,
like the British wars with the Scots, because we're
but
fighting
but Washington had his Rangers too.
because you needed your special forces, because that's how the British fought. The British are the best at irregular warfare that the planet's ever seen.
Oh
It's
yeah,
not even close.
oh
They're
dude,
so good at it.
I just got done reading a book about uh, what was that? Was Special Air Service.
Yes,
The,
yes.
the history of the SAS, and those they built. They're literally called commandos, and the stuff they come up with is just freaking.
They are the most effective special forces unit on the planet that I've seen. I mean, Delta is a solid second, but we're like schoolboys compared to these guys. And people don't think of it like that, but literally, the Americas, U.S., is a child of the British Empire. We're basically a proxy until very
Well,
recently.
they had to come up with special warfare because we kind of like were playing dirty. That's why they had the green lagoons and the guys with the green jackets on, and yeah.
Well,
I
they were
think I
fighting on foreign ground. They didn't have a base to work out of. They had to come in and do it. They were always at the disadvantage because we knew who we were. They didn't know who we knew who they were. They didn't know. This is the problem of fighting an insurgency. If you're gonna, like, in the U.S. forces, one of the biggest problems they had was blue on blue. Friendly fire.
yeah.
It's like,
Well,
because then how do you know who anyone is?
well, just look at what we learned from the French and Indian Wars, and we took all that ground campaign that we did,
Yes.
and
Yes.
so they took all that ground campaign, and these guys all were experienced soldiers, and then
Yeah, we
they
fought
brought
the Indians. They taught us a lot about
the
how to
French and
fight.
Indian Wars. Yeah,
They're good fighters. A lot of our culture comes from the natives of
well
America.
that's what that whole book, Last of the Mohicans, is about, is the French and Indian Wars. So
Yeah,
Yep. Sorry,
hey,
Daniel, we interrupted you. What were you saying
my
no,
there?
it's
bad.
fine. I was trying to divert us back to more closer to what we were talking about before. Colin, what's the way that we are able to undo the financial kill chain? What's the only way out of it to prevent the collapse? There's one way that I'm looking for, but if you have
It
more, then
well, I think in terms of thousands of years, a lot of people think the world's going to end pretty soon. I'm open to that. Quite frankly, a big part of me hopes that's the case, but I don't think we're getting out of this that easy. I think we got a long road ahead of us. And I'm not saying there aren't going to be terrible events that happen that disrupt the planet, and for all I know, whole countries are going to disappear. The sun is doing amazing things right now, and we don't know what's going to happen when it has its final hissy fit.
Yeah,
If
and they're saying we're at the beginning of the pole where the pole's flipping. So
And
bullshit.
a part of me goes, is this another fear psyop to freeze everyone into place? Just kind of like, let's just wait for Jesus to come back, and we'll just not worry about anything, and we'll keep our head in the sand. The problem is they're not going to let you, aka COVID. You're not going to get a choice. You don't get to say, I'm going to just not pretend. I'm going to pretend this isn't happening. If you do that, you are literally opening your carotid artery and saying, slice me.
Well,
It's not a good idea.
the thing is, that's not even if you're actually being honest and paying actual homage to what Scripture is speaking about as a Christian, you understand that you aren't going to be let off the hook. When you're reading
Yes.
the book of Revelation, you see persecution after persecution, and faith being tested over and over again.
Let me give you a quick story. I went to a meeting the other day, and there was a special advisor of Greg Abbott came to speak, and I asked the question, hey, we got 300,000 kids, and this was 10 years ago, not this story, I'm saying this data. I don't know what the current number is because no one's looking. But back when I was involved in child sex trafficking, operation, like trying to like set up like I helped build a refuge for child sex trafficking. And it was
sorry,
in
I thought
Texas
you finished
alone.
the sentence.
Well, the sentence sounds confusing. When I was back,
You said you were involved in it.
Well, when I was involved in
Defeating
operations to help stop it.
We know what you meant.
Yeah. Or to help mitigate the damage. And I was trying to understand the problem because I asked God, well, hey, I want to be of service to you. What's the worst thing happening in the world? And that's always, if someone can give me another answer, I'd like to hear it. That's the worst thing. And I didn't understand why it wasn't being dealt with. And that's what's led me to the political realm, because it is a political problem. They will not deal with the problem. They don't want to look at it. They want to pretend it doesn't exist. And in the meantime, we have, in Texas alone, 300,000. This is 10 years ago, and this is before all this open border stuff. I mean, it was open back then, but nothing like the last 10 years. And it was 300,000 kids that they were able to track and discern that, like, okay, that were being raped in sex, rape, slavery.
I just got done reading a book about that. Borderline, yeah, by Vincent Vargas. He's a border patrol agent. Oh man, it's the stuff
he's brutal, man.
And the news will certainly not cover it. The politicians sure as hell won't cover it for whatever reason. And I posed a question to him. Hey, these numbers are real. I'm asking you to look into it, and I'm saying that you can win every election if you run on that issue alone. Just say you're going to help. Just bring attention to it and say, we're going to stop children from being in rape slavery. I think everyone can get behind that.
Yeah.
And he's like, 1,000? I don't think that's right. I'm like, dude, those are old numbers. And he's like, and he was like, I don't think, I'm more concerned about the parents that are letting this happen. I'm like, I fucking hate you people. Sorry for my language, but I really do. I despise these people.
We just got an E next to our category now. Thanks.
Can you censor that out? I'm sorry.
I don't give a crap. I'm just.
We're talking about rape slavery, so I'm sorry. I use a little
it's understandable
language, and and anyway, and the point is, it's how, like, you can't. They act like it doesn't even happen, and they want us to be worried about all this other stuff. So even if the world was going to end tomorrow, let's do everything we can to save as many of those innocent souls as we can.
Yes,
and that's our job as Christians.
Yes.
Is like, it's the end of the world, fine. Okay, so be it. Thank God. I come back in chariots or blow the world up and our souls will go back to you. I'm good with that. Let's go get those kids out of hell, please.
100%.
They're here on earth in hell. Let's get them out
100%.
now. I would cut my own arms off if it stopped it. But there's no will, because no one even knows about this, because you have to be kind of a freak like me to even ask what's the most horrible thing to focus on. Because no one who wants to do that? We got enough stress in our lives. So to get out of this, I would say, you know how Moses put the serpent on the rod? Look at the thing that is the most dangerous thing.
Yes.
Awaken, wake up. And see it. And if we aimed at that problem set, I'm telling you, everything else would sort itself out.
Yes, and the thing is about that is staring at that which is that you are most fearful of, right? And you put the pin right on it, and it's the violating of innocence, and nobody stands for that. And the thing is nobody's informed about it, like you said. And when you bring it up, people look at you like you're, they look at you like you're crazy. Oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist. I know that, like, they're a person who would be against it if they actually believed you, right?
I run into this problem with my own family because they can't handle the horror. And I get that. But those kids can't handle the horror either. And this is what being an adult is about.
Yes.
We have a responsibility to look at the horror so the kids don't have to, and we can deal with it ourselves.
Mm-hmm. But, you know, it's like when you ask them, are they actually going to do something? They'd rather pretend like it doesn't happen or gaslight the whole
Yes.
audience.
You can't wake people up that are pretending to be asleep. It's impossible. Because they're awake. They know. They're pretending.
In a way, you could see it as a blasphemy against the Spirit of God, because you are suppressing that the Spirit that underpins and resonates with us all. It should, the Spirit of love, the Spirit of Christ, that you need to embody. You're called to do it as a Christian, but even if you're not a Christian, you're pushed. You know what's right and wrong. We all have this internal sense. We all have this consciousness that guides us in the direction of right and away from wrong. But are we going to give in to that spirit, or are we going to suppress it, like you're saying?
I'm not even saying that politicians have to do something. I'm saying just talk about it, for God's sake. Just say something.
But they're suppressing it with omission, is what I'm saying. So they're
100%. No, I'm not disagreeing with you. It's like, and they could win elections off of this.
Well, that's what Trump ran on. Trump ran on it with the Epstein client list.
He is the closest person to run on this subject set. And I wish he went way stronger on it but that's what the whole QAnon, as much as people want to make fun of those people, I know a lot of QAnoners. You know what makes them,
what the hell is that anyways, QAnon?
It's basically they fall on, there was a messaging board that was coming out of basically the White House, and I've actually confirmed that this was coming out of the government. Or, I don't know, confirmed as best I can. I know who the people are that did it. I don't remember their names off the top of my head, but it started through the Trump campaign, and basically it was, hey, the government is running sex trafficking, and we're running an operation to end it. And this is like a low-key way of us telling you what we're doing and how we're going to save the country. But what ended up happening is all these boomers, because it was all done through Facebook, basically. And all these boomers globbed onto it because, one, they had children, and that's the thing they all cared about. But what happened is it's trust the plan. Everything's going to work itself out. As long as we trust in Trump, everything will work out. And I'm like, okay, that's a great marketing campaign, but it's also like,
he's not God. He can't make everything.
You have to do it yourself, and there was no self-actualization of how do you, as an individual, get involved and do something yourself. The only people that I've seen do that are guys like Bannon, and I would say even Alex Jones doesn't do this. He doesn't tell people how to take over like the parties.
Do you have any resources that we can give the audience to see if they can support people who are fighting against this?
I mean, True Texas. I'm in Texas, so I'm focused on Texas because as goes Texas, as goes America. Honestly, because the amount of power that's down here is unbelievable. It's crazy. This is really the capital of the United States, in terms of raw power. True Texas Project are great. I have some problems on occasion, but nothing substantial. Overall, they're directionally correct. They're good.
What's it called?
True Texas Project.
And people can donate to them and support their outreach?
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, you definitely can donate. Citizens Defending Freedom is national, and they have lawyers, and they understand this problem set and are trying to get directly at the heart of the beast. And they're run by a bunch of former military guys that understand that the country's been hijacked, and they're running like basically they're the Kentucky long riflemen in the trees taking pot shots at the officers. That's what their job is. So those guys are great. I worked for all these groups. And then nationally, I mean, I would say watch Bannon's War Room. It's not about Steve Bannon. I don't trust any of these people individually, but the kind of people that come on, it's creating an avenue for this to come out. It's where the majority of the vaccine resistance collated around was his show. It's where everyone got their attention on that. Child trafficking is a major part of it. The
The
corruption of
frogs
the
being gay.
institute. That's
That's
Alex.
Alex
You can go
Jones.
watch Alex for that.
Yeah,
And
I'm
Alex
sorry.
just yells and rants, but he still has certain interviews that are worth watching.
Yes.
But overall, Alex,
He's gotten a lot better lately.
he's gotten a lot better. He's gotten a lot more sober. Is a big part of
He's
it.
calling Israel out on their crap, which is nice.
And he goes into the history that it's the British Empire, and he doesn't make it about Jews. It's that this is a political system that started before World War II, but
Yeah.
this is an old system, and you need to understand the system so you don't, just because they want us to go after people groups. It's
Like
the
the
blacks,
Jews.
it's the
Yeah.
Jews, it's the Mexican. It's you want to hate another people group. We're all victims of this. Every single one of us. It's a spirit that's driving this,
Yes.
and
Satanic spirit.
and it is going. It's a serpent coiling its coils around the earth, and just like the bundle of sticks, it's a good notion. People need to be aware of who their enemy is and not direct anger. In fact, I would say learn to get rid of anger altogether, because it doesn't help. It makes everything worse. Don't be naive, but don't be angry. If you can do that, you're a freaking monk. You'll become one. It's
the,
hard. It
the
is
thing
so
is
hard.
your battle is not against flesh and blood. It's the battle against principalities and powers that undergird, like you said, the spirit of what people are being driven towards. And this shows that we can have an antidote to it. We
Yes.
can have a direction to go in the right way. When we embody the spirit of Christ, when he says, if you want to follow me, you pick up your cross and you carry that unto death and you count the cost of that.
Did I
And
tell you? Go ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
I did not give you, real quick off of that, and then Cody. I did not give you a spirit of fear,
But of a
right?
sound mind.
And of a sound mind, and anger is a derivative of fear.
Yes.
Someone tell me how that's not true, and I'll hear you out. But
Well, undirected anger, like frivolous, unrighteous anger. Yes.
No, there is no such thing as righteous anger, in my opinion. I could be wrong on that, but and trust me, I still have anger in my heart toward these. I hate these people, and I try to tell myself that they're captured slaves as well, and I always caveat it, and I'm like, don't hate them. This is
you
a
can
spirit.
hate the evil
Keep the main
spirits.
thing the main thing, not all these distractions.
Exactly.
But it's difficult. So I'm not preaching here. I'm telling you, I struggle with this. I have not mastered it by any stretch, but I know in my heart the right thing is to not be angry at all toward anything.
It's not their fault. Mostly, it's not their fault. They're being propagandized and pushed in directions.
They're like robots. It's not even. They're not even. They've lost their humanity. A lot of these people a long time ago. Like it's not even. We're dealing with bots, literally, like
NPCs,
walking people that are bots that with physical flesh sacks. That there's no soul. I've encountered people that I'm like, you have no soul. Like you're not there. There's nothing here. You're a program that was set loose. Anyway, go ahead.
Have you ever read Proverbs?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite book. I've
Beautiful.
read that countless times. It's
This is
perfect
what
for
I
this
flipped
time.
to on accident the other day. Proverbs
Let's hear it.
13. Listen before you speak, or you will sound like a fool in the distant to others, and like a fool to your own degree. But I like what here, a pride of man. What is it? I lost.
Is
Pride
it pride?
produces a man's fall, but before honor comes humility.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Listen before you speak, and you will sound like a fool to the others. A man's spirit is his own. But like the whole, like even in 17 here, like 17:11, or chapter 17, like don't be around people who are talk evil. This is like some good stuff, man. Like 18 starts off people who don't get along with others. It's like that's some good stuff there, man. Proverbs
Well,
18 is.
there's another proverb that says the soft answer turneth away wrath. And the way we speak and respond to these situations, like what Colin was saying, we need to forgive our parents. We need to forgive those who had nothing to do with how they were raised and how they were taught to live in this world.
Oh,
And
dude,
so,
right here, check this out. 19. It is better to associate with a poor man who is honest than a rich man who is dishonest.
mm, honesty, truth is
Yeah.
really the way to navigate through these problems that we're dealing with. And that's the spirit of Christ. Truth. It's the basis of who he was and is.
People who don't get along with others and are only interested in themselves do not use good sound judgment. A fool does not understand things. All he wants to do is the air of his own opinion. With kindness comes temper, shame, and dishonor. No, no. With weakness comes contempt, and then shame and dishonor. The word of the wise is like a refreshing water draining down the wall, down the well, from a deep well, and a bundle of books. All right, well that it is sound. No, it's like
Yeah, I don't know what that means either. Don't worry, I don't
Well,
like that one. A
it's
bundle of books. Interesting.
it's
I've never.
showing the beauty of what wisdom can offer to us. It I mean, it is kind of hard to understand what that verse is meaning, but wisdom is the knowledge given to us from God and the Spirit that guides us
Yeah.
all.
It does not come from my ego and I figured something out and I'm amazing and I learned all that. No, it's wisdom is something because once you can say it, and this Cody, back to what you said about speaking simply, if you can speak simply and even like any person on the street, if you can speak in their language in tongues and they can hear the context behind what you're saying and they say, in my heart, I know what you just said is true. That's
Mm.
wisdom. It's not something that came out of some idea. Yeah, not like our mind. Our mind is our whole body and
well,
everything
that's
around
what
it, but
this
it's
whole
still, it's
like that's what Proverbs talks about.
Yes.
Be honest, be simple.
yes.
Yeah.
And
Be as honest as you can.
wisdom's embodied in the person of Christ, the Logos. Wisdom. It offers us the freeing capacity to be able to see God in each and every one of us. Wisdom is from God and not from ourselves.
I like this 19 dash chapter 3. A stupid man declares a man ruins his life and then blames it God for it.
Mm.
Yeah, Cain and Abel.
Cain
Cain,
blamed God.
the first one to bitch to God was Cain. Why
Mm.
are you not giving me everything?
But it's like
Because you messed up, bro.
it's like I was thinking about that the other day. It's like they blame that flood in Texas on God. How could God do this to us? I'm like, God put out 7 warnings telling you to get the hell out of the riverbed. He inspired people to tell you to get the hell out of there. You didn't heed the warning. They even said that they flashed the information over all the phones that there's a flash flood coming up. Get the hell out of the river, and they all stayed down there. I'm not saying that they're to be blamed. They didn't know what the danger was, but
Nothing like that has ever happened there for like hundreds of years. It's
oh
crazy.
no, no,
So
that's a lie. That is a lie.
no, at
In
that level,
1987, you can go back and this guy was showing a wall in that one area where every flood in the last 200 years has happened. They know that it's a big flood basin.
I could be wrong about that. Maybe
I mean, I heard
that's
this.
narrative. So that
Yeah,
you're
this
probably
guy was
right.
passing this narrative. Oh, they've never, dude. they've people have been in this part of the country for 500 years. Okay.
Yeah, but at that, a part of it is also scale of population.
Well, I understand the scale of population, but and then the other part of it is you have a lot of people that haven't experienced a Texas flood are moving from
Yeah,
California,
no,
and
no one knows how to screw in a light bulb, like let alone how to deal with a flood. I mean,
yeah, and it's
yeah,
yes. And then you have people that are encroaching on floodplains. There was a reason that our forefathers said, "Hey, probably shouldn't build your crap here."
Mm.
yeah. There is one verse, since we're reading Bible verses, I love this one. I think I might have told you guys this one. When I have anger arise in me, I always go, like, when it's like consuming me, I go to this verse. It's a Psalm of Asaph. It's my favorite verse in the whole Bible.
What
For
verse
my
is it?
Psalm 73, the chapter. It's the whole thing, but I'll read it quickly.
Let's hear it.
Truly, God. Asaph was like a choir, or he was like the music directors of the priest class. Like he was the worship leader, basically, is what we would know it as. Truly, God is good to Israel, even to such as are of a clean heart. But as for me, my feet were almost gone. My steps had nigh slipped. For I was envious of the foolish, when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. For there were no bands in their death, but their strength is firm. They are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men. Therefore pride compasseth them like a chain, violence covereth them like a garment. Their eyes stand out from fatness. They have more than heart could wish. They are corrupt and speak wickedly concerning oppression. They speak loftily. They set their mouth against the heavens, and their tongue walketh through the earth. Therefore his people return hither, and waters of a full cup are wrung out of them. And they say, how doth God know, and is there knowledge in the Most High? Meaning, are the wicked aware that God, like, oh, how would God care about you? You don't matter. Behold, these are the ungodly who prosper in the world. They increase in riches. Verily, I have cleansed my heart in vain and washed my hands in innocence. This is Asaph saying this to himself and God in his own heart. Verily, I have cleansed my heart in vain, and I have been a good man for no reason. Because look at the world. For all the day long have I been plagued and chastened every morning. If I say I will speak thus the truth, behold, I should offend against the generation of thy children. When I thought to know this, it was too painful for me until I went into the sanctuary of God. Then understood I their end. Surely thou didst set them on slippery places. Thou cast them down into destruction. How are they brought into desolation as in a moment, like a flood? They are utterly consumed with terrors. I'm not saying that there weren't innocents wrapped up in that. That's not what I'm saying, but as an example. As a dream when one awaketh, so, O Lord, when thou awakest, thou shalt despise their image. Thus my heart was grieved when I was pricked in my reins. So foolish was I and ignorant. I was a beast before thee. Nevertheless, I am continually with thee. Thou hast holden me by my right hand. Thou shalt guide me with thy counsel, and afterward receive me to glory. Whom have I in heaven but thee? And there is none upon earth that I desire beside thee. My flesh and my heart faileth, but God is the strength of my heart, and the portion forever. For lo, they that are far from thee shall perish. Thou hast destroyed all of them that go a whoring. That's the King James, from thee. But it is good for me to draw near to God. I have put my trust in the Lord God, that I may declare all thy works. I love a good old fashioned cry for help from a holy man that's like, I
Yeah.
don't know what to do. This is
Yeah.
crazy. And I resonate with that every time I hear it. It's just like, and I'm not saying I am not a holy man, but I'm like, if a holy man like that is at his wit's end, it's
Yeah.
okay for us to be at our wit's end. But what's our refuge? It's right here.
Jesus.
Jesus. You're right. No, the Christ
Well,
that's within us,
and
the intersection of the divine
yes,
that we are channeling.
yes. And the thing is the key is to come to that realization where when we see evil people prosper, we see wickedness abound. We need to know that God abounds even further in his love and mercy to us, allowing us to continue and to be able to put forth goodness in other people's lives. Like what Collin was talking about. What are we born to do? What are we able to do now for others? What are we able to get others out of pain and suffering? Delivering children from the stealing of their innocence. What are we to do? And God gives us life to do so. And we must take advantage of that life that God gives us.
I think that's a great place to end.
I'm good with that.
You good? You got anything else, Cody?
No, I think we're good.
It was good. Yeah,
We went around Harvey's barn on that one.
we did.
Yeah.
Who is
That was-
God? What a
Who is
question.
God?
All
who is
right.
God?
Well, if you guys got this far in the podcast, I appreciate it. Definitely write down in the bottom about what you guys like to see, what you guys like about it, what you don't like about it. Public input would be greatly appreciated. And if it's not that, then it's just three guys using a internet connection to complain. So, but I want to tell everyone thanks for watching, and I think we went into some interesting areas. Anything you guys want to end with? Or are you good with that?
I love you all because God loves me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure to be able to share perspectives with you guys and hear what you guys think about it. So thanks to the viewers for listening in, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah, that went some interesting places. Thanks you guys for listening. All right.